I know Halloween's over with, but if you're still in the mood for a great horror story, then you owe it to yourself to watch Rosemary's Baby. I watched this last night on Netflix. I was blown away. This was made 1968. They don't make them like this anymore. This story is complex. It's not about a lot of violence or there's a killer going around getting people. It has so many twists and so much foreshadowing and a lot of these small little details that I want to go back and watch this again. Now, this review, it will contain light spoilers for the first half of the story, but it will contain no major spoilers or anything really for the end of the story. I'm not going to do that for you. If you haven't watched this yet, you need to go watch this, but the review will be pretty safe. So this story here, there were so many things in the beginning of this. When I first started watching this, the first 20 minutes or so, don't get me wrong, the first 20 so minutes I felt was boring, but now I want to go back and watch this because I remember so many small details that later on in the series, when the plot begins to open up, I would think, I saw this in the beginning of the movie, and I didn't think much about it, but this is its purpose in the story. It all comes back to this, and now I need to go back and rewatch this. It has great rewatchability for that. So the basic setup for Rosemary's Baby is we have a couple moving in to an apartment where this old lady had just died, and they're moving into her old apartment. They're trying to have a baby themselves, and they make a lot of friends in the general area of the apartment building, and they're mostly older people. So where this story really starts to pick up for me is when one of the elderly women drops off 2 chocolate souffles to the married couple here, and the wife starts to eat it, complains about the taste. Long story short, she was date raped, and she passes out, and she has this vision that she is being raped by a monster or by the devil, really. And this is really what I see to be the only supernatural event within the series, and I really liked that it was like that because for the most part of this, I don't know if the things that she was dreaming about were actually real or if they were things that were just part of her mind where she was drugged. So she passes out, her husband allegedly drags her back to the bed, and she wakes up the next morning and she's got scratches on her, and the husband, he says to her that he's sorry, that he was drunk, and he had sex with her when she was passed out. So then it really starts getting creepy, because here you have Rosemary, who is pregnant, and these older people are controlling every aspect of her life, and it really starts to feel like she's in the middle of this cult, because you've got these 2 older people, they're recommending her to go see this doctor, that's one of their friends, and every single part of her life they're controlling it. The doctor's telling her, don't read any books at all, don't take any pills for your pregnancy at all, we're going to give you everything you need. The older woman, she mixes up this drink that she drinks all the time, and Rosemary suffers from pains for the longest time, and something is obviously not right. And her husband, I could not stand her husband within this movie. All of the other characters here, like the old people, they were creepy, but they served their purpose. Rosemary, she was a great character as well, but her husband, I could not stand him. He always went along. The movie explains why this happens, but the husband always goes along with everything that these old people recommend, and always doesn't really treat his wife the best. He never gives his wife the benefit of the doubt and says, you know what, maybe you're right about this. Maybe these old people don't have their best thoughts about you. Maybe that we need to go see a different doctor. He's always on their side, and that's explained later on. Now, eventually, as the story progresses, we learn that all of these old people are actually part of a satanic cult. And what's really interesting about this is that this movie doesn't really offer so many supernatural things. The only supernatural thing that we see in the movie at this point is from her delusion or her vision when she had been drugged originally. We don't know if that's real or if that was actually just part of something that was in her mind because she was under the influence of the drugs at the time, and we don't really know what's real. I really appreciate that because at this point, just with that one brief instance of something that we see that is supernatural, I didn't know if that was actually a satanic ritual where she had sex with the devil, or these people were just a satanic cult which, you know, had really no grounds in it, because you didn't know if it was realistic where these people were believing in something just out of faith, or if it was something that was actually happening just because this is a movie and supernatural things can happen. So I didn't really know which way this could have went, and it could have went either way. They could have been religious psychopaths with a lot of faith or it could have actually been a real satanic ritual and had, you know, actual supernatural events as if it were real. So as you're watching the movie, Rosemary starts to uncover details about this cult and she starts to learn about them. She starts to try and fight back and get out of that circle that she is trapped in by talking to other people, but anybody else that she talks to, they're mostly being put into comas and dying. So that in itself really just shows that they're doing everything that they can to keep her ignorant and keep her right in the middle of their circle. So moving forward with the story, those are really the only specific plot points that I can address without spoiling it, but with the second half of this movie, it was so suspenseful, and you really feel that it's hopeless for Rosemary because the harder she fights, the harder they fight back to keep her ignorant and to keep her trapped within that circle. And then finally to the point where the baby is born, and I was blown away by the end of that movie. I wanted to see what happens next. There's a book about this. I might in fact go ahead and read that. If anybody out there who's actually read the book, let me know if it actually goes further than the movie or not, or if it's better than the movie. I'll probably check that out if it is. So Rosemary's Baby, so suspenseful. It's a really old movie, 1968, and you can tell it by watching it, but don't let that stop you. Even if you're not a fan of older movies, I guarantee you, if you're a fan of horror movies, you will enjoy Rosemary's Baby. So like I said, if you've read the book, let me know your thoughts about that in the comments section below, and if you've seen Rosemary's Baby, then let me know your thoughts about that as well. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later.